Okay, everybody, this is ZeroPoint Module 8, kicking it off for the new year. Happy New Year, everybody. Hope everybody had a good vacation. Today so far, we got Waldo and Quest4Designs, Quest for Crypto. We're going to be doing ZeroPoints a little bit different going forward. It looks like the best way to do it from what we've been doing is probably going to be to do every 2 weeks. So we're going to go ahead and switch to, instead of a weekly schedule, we're going to do bi-weekly, so every 2 weeks. Also, we may be moving away from Twitter Spaces, but that's just so it'll be easier to include like video and visual aids if people want to use them. If we do move away from Spaces, we'll end up moving to the official DERO Discord. So just a heads up on that. We'll still announce them on Twitter and everything. They'll still be available on YouTube, still be available on Spotify. It'll just be a different place to see live. And actually, speaking of live, we may actually start doing some pre-recordings to get some different people's schedules actually accommodated. It's been hard to get people at the same time during like every Saturday or every Sunday during this time frame. Everybody has a different schedule, so we may also start pre-recording. But yeah, so we'll let people know what's going on in the near future as far as all that goes in scheduling, but just be aware that we may be moving away from Twitter. But so this week's discussion, we could go ahead and start kicking off. But I want to start with Quest. He has a special project he's been working on. I really want to kind of get down into the details on exactly what everything's all about, what it's going to be, what it's going to include, and how he's going to approach it. So Quest, the first thing I really just want to ask you to do is if you could tell people about yourself and your background a little bit, just so they kind of know who you are and what it is that you're doing.
All right, cool. So yeah, thanks. My name is Quest. I grew up out west, and Quest has been my graffiti name since I was like a young teenager. And I was always looking to find out how things work and, find out what's real, what's really going on. And so I had an old laptop that my stepfather used, that I used these old ancient versions of Windows and became very proficient with like MS-DOS and that kind of stuff. And then from there, I met a few kids that were messing with telephones and computers and starting testing the phone networks and seeing what we could do with them. So we ended up finding different kind of codes that you use to dial anyone from anywhere, all without being logged or tracked and that kind of stuff. So technology has always been something that's very core to what I'm about and what I do. And back in the day, I was working for a small startup internet company and was a system admin. And I took literally a 20-year hiatus from technology, raised a family. And, but I realized, my core values really are, love, freedom, privacy, and creativity. That's really kind of the core drivers for me. And so I learned about Dr. Ron Paul in 2008 and started getting into politics. I campaigned for him actually in Florida and in New Hampshire in 2012 and was a Bitcoin investor back in 2011. And I thought it was just a really great idea, a great way to get out of this whole fiat money system that has caused so much harm and so much damage around the world. And so I started getting involved with the Bitcoin, and then I started, once Monero came out, I was like, okay, this is really kind of the flavor of the type of crypto that I'm looking for. I just want my transactions to be private. I want to be able to conduct business peer-to-peer. And now we're on and this wonderful evolution of DERO, and it's so complex. I'm just scratching the surface of the complexity that DERO has built in with it. And what I'm working on right now, the primary initiative of why we're talking right now, is I'm really working to get the DERO developers together so that we can all have monthly developer calls and engage the developer community on what we can do as a young blockchain to build out an SDK so that when developers come into DERO, they have a good starting point. They have a solid foundation for them to be able to build and develop onto this ecosystem. So I'm working with people in doing that, and it's going to be a long process because we have lots of different various inputs and people's feedback. But what we really want to do is just try to push the envelope forward as far as the maturity model of the developers that exist in the ecosystem right now, and the new folks that we want to bring in.
Oh, cool. So, so like with these developer talks, well, actually, first before we get into that, I do want to say it's kind of cool you're into phone freaking. I remember back in the day, I used to mess with my friends by like using the, when you hang up the old school phones, you could use that button to dial with. You could just click dial.
Right.
I used to say, I used to dial phone numbers, and they'd be like, "Whoa, that actually worked." That's about as deep as I got, but it was always kind of funny to do that. It's like kind of like a party trick back in the day.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I used it for initially. It was like I would use that to impress girls. So, hey, watch this. I'm gonna punch in this code, and the phone's gonna call you right back. They're like, "What?" I hang up the phone, and they're like, "What? How did you do that?" Like, so. But I've always been very curious and interested in how things work, and like what are the parameters of like, what are the things that are hidden that the functionality that's hidden that you can unlock somehow.
Yeah. I mean, like it's there for anybody to use. You just have to know that it's there, right?
Right. Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah. So but yeah. So moving on. So these developer talks. I know you have like a specific plan or format, or like what's the approach that you're going to take with these developer talks?
So there's a bit of a language barrier with some of our developers, and so some of our developers are only just like text only. Their strong suit is they can communicate, but they communicating real time over voice is different because they speak multiple languages. And I don't want to put anybody on the spot to make them, talk and respond on the spot. So we got two different streams, right? We got the text stream and we got the talk stream. And what I want to do is be able to figure out and identify what is this. First of all, take the lay of the land. What are the skill set of the people that we're currently developing in DERO? Where are their areas of strength and weaknesses, right? Kind of identify that so you can kind of figure out where we sit and where we stand as far as the skills and abilities that are available within the group, and then figure out, okay, for the people that are here, what can we do? Do we have the level of knowledge and competency right now to be able to develop an SDK? Do we need to bring a group of people from outside in to kind of help us with that? Different things like that. But really, we want to be able to move the ball forward and have a stronger setup kit for developers starting in DERO by the end of this process. And it's going to be a process. It's going to be a process of us talking these things through, hashing out, some very like technical details, which I'm going to lean on their expertise. They're my subject matter experts. I'm just trying to make sure that I understand it all and kind of figure out what are the pain points and how we can remove them.
That's a great approach. I like that a lot, actually. And yeah, and just to elaborate a little bit, there are a ton of developers that we have that are really talented, but English isn't their first language. They can still communicate just fine via text. That's a really good point, because for as small as the project may be from the outside looking in, there's a very diverse group of people that are involved. And I think that's actually a huge benefit, because that means that it's not just small in one way, it's small in a global way, if that makes sense.
Yeah, and I've taken and I've taught many design thinking courses, and that's one of the core values of design thinking is taking in everybody's feedback. So I've worked in corporate America for a long time, and a lot of times these meetings that you have, you got the boss talking and everybody listens, and you have people that are afraid to chime in and give their input because they don't want to be shouted down or anything. But really the best way to approach things is to be able to give everybody's feedback, leave your title and your ego at the door, share honest feedback about a particular problem or a particular issue, and then kind of work through that process of figuring out what is the best solution. Right. So everyone's experience is valuable, but we all have to make sure that we know too, that like, for me, I'm a newbie when it comes to developing. So I'm not going to sit there and try to talk with authority about like, I know what I'm talking about, developing and putting together an SDK. I've never put together an SDK. Have I done some research and figured out kind of what things are required? Yeah. But like, I'm not the person. I'm here to coordinate.
Yeah. You're not the SME, right? Yeah.
Right.
I completely understand that approach, because I run into that all the time. I'm trying to coordinate things, and I see things that need to be done, but I'm not the expert in those kind of things. Like, you have to lean on your resources, and you have to really, like you said, like, put the ego aside and let other people give their feedback. I agree
Right.
with that.
And you got different personalities, you know, and so that's just to manage. And that's just a part for me to be able to manage and deal with people because people are not going to get along with each other. People are. I mean, that's just the way of of human interaction. So that's kind of baked in there. But we all should be there focusing on the same goal that the next guy that's coming in to be a developer, the next rock star that's going to be in our community, that's going to help our community grow. And we're going to be able to have so many cool tools and functionality. How can we support them? How we bring them in? And what can we do right now to make their life easier as getting started with DERO?
Yeah. And that's actually, so I was actually going to ask you this, but I think you already touched on it quite a bit. But, so something like this, in your opinion, like why do you think this is important?
Why is it important? Well, we have to understand where we are as far as our ecosystem. We have a small, young ecosystem, and we want it to mature and grow, right? So we have to know where we're at, where we stand right now, to be able to identify instead of trying to take quantum leap jumps, how we kind of build those building blocks and those bridges to that next area.
No, I couldn't agree more. There's a mentality that needs to be, I guess, addressed, where, and this happens in corporate America a lot too. I'm sure you've seen it, is where people want the end result right now without wanting to put in the work or without wanting to take the steps necessary in order to achieve. And I think this type of approach is definitely the better way to go about it. And also, I think you touched on probably a dozen other points that actually show why it's important. So, but that is something I wanted to explicitly ask because I think some people, might hear, oh, we're going to have these dev talks and things like that, not understand why it's a big deal or why it even matters. So,
yeah, but I understand that we live in a instant gratification society. So that's all around us. And many of us, especially those that are younger, that's all they know. Right. So like first of all, it's just part of the culture that a lot of us have been raised around. But two, it's not anything that's worthwhile takes planning, takes strategy, takes, multiple iterations for it to be improved upon. It can't just be the best thing in the world at the 1.0 version or an alpha or beta stage, right? We have to work at it. And those of us that, are in the community that are wanting to participate, I'm just a project manager, program manager, trader by background. And so I don't have, all the skills and expertise to be a developer, but I'm getting involved and starting developing on my own. So I have a better understanding when they're talking and when they're explaining things, I have some sort of level of expertise. Anybody could do this.
Yeah. No, go ahead, Waldo.
Yeah. I was just gonna, shout back out to the Ron Paul mentioned. That guy has been bringing people to the light on so many fronts. But I had a couple questions about the dev talks. Will they be live? And if not, will there be recorded playbacks? Because I know some of the people are in drastically different time zones. So I'm just wondering a little about that.
Yeah, so we're in the privacy community, and I always want to respect everyone's privacy. So the discussions that we're going to have that will be shared will have the agreement of everybody that's involved that says it's okay to share it. And anything else, is going to be something that we can exchange the information peer to peer. We can encrypt it and share a file with somebody. But I really want to respect everyone's privacy, and I want to make sure that everybody's on board. And if I get people that don't want to that just want to text only, I'm not just going and sharing their information without their permission. So what we'd like to do is we'd like to be able to record all of these dev calls, and we'd like to be able to have those recorded and memorialized wherever on a Discord server. And then when someone comes in and says, okay, I want to be a developer in DERO, what do I need to get started? What projects are in the works? What projects have already been completed? Let me see some of this source code. Somebody has some wherewithal that they could go and look at and get a quick speed run and learn about what's been developed and what's in process here at DERO.
Well, I can already say, as far as getting them recorded and archived, in a sense, from my side and from Asylum's side as well, we're definitely going to make sure that these get recorded in some fashion. And then at the very least, I think we're going to be putting them on YouTube. They may go onto the official DERO YouTube, just because it's highly DERO specific, and development focused. So we'll figure out the final landing spot for those as far as the archive goes. But from what you're saying, so like, for example, like when's the first one going to be? And where is it going to be at?
Yeah, the first one we're looking to do towards the end of this month, and we're going to be doing it probably on, probably just going to be capturing and recording on, Discord or somewhere that's convenient for everybody. Like I said, we have 2 channels though, right? So I'm going to be engaging them on the text channel. We're going to be having kind of a group conversation there. And then those ones that want to kind of flesh this out and kind of talk through some of these things, we'll invite to the group discussion.
Sounds awesome to me. And then I was thinking, and also just kind of thinking out loud, since we're doing 0 points every 2 weeks or so, we could probably just leapfrog them. Like, for example, in the future, this 0 point happens, then after that, we can schedule a release of the YouTube version, not necessarily the live one, but the YouTube version of the Dev Talk for the next weekend. And then after that, that following weekend, we could do another 0 point. We could possibly discuss some of the things that happened on it and other goings on, if you will.
Mm-hmm.
And then and kind of do something like that, where we can make sure that every week people have something to look forward to, in a sense, and some content, some constant updates, right?
Yeah, that sounds good. I mean, I have a big following of people that are in the cyber and like developer community on LinkedIn, and I want to be able to share recordings of discussions that we're having and kind of engaging people that I know in LinkedIn that are developers and that are curious about this project.
Yeah, no, that sounds totally cool and totally makes sense. But yeah, it's don't worry about the archiving. We'll have to discuss some of the recording later, though.
For sure.
But yeah, we'll find a way to capture that.
Yeah. So just in my initial, feeling out who's still active as a developer and kind of what the pain points are and that kind of stuff, it's really interesting to see kind of what's on the front of their mind about, bringing in new developers or helping developers in DERO. So I'm really excited for the conversation. I want to be able to have this conversation so that we can build and engage, and for the community too. Like what Apollo is working on right now for DERO Web is something that I was like, why don't we have these unstoppable domains on DERO? Why don't we have,
yeah.
And he's the one kind of taking, some user feedback and say, hey, I think this is possible. We could do this. Let me work through the problem and, figure out a solution. So, I mean, everybody's input is important. We all want to be able to engage with each other, privately, securely, but also, be creative with it.
Yeah, and I want to get back to the unstoppable domain things though. But you said you were talking with some people about pain points, what they want to see. Is there anything specific that stuck out, or
really was like need to have an SDK yesterday. Want to figure out how things can be fully integrated with DERO. Things for building better APIs for things. So just a lot of different kind of infrastructure backend things were really kind of some of the main points.
Okay. Yeah. Well, yeah, that makes sense. And then also explains why you're taking the approach that you are. So very cool.
And this is this is the first 0 point that we're having too, with the new version of Ngram. So
yeah,
another point too is like, hey, what did you think about the new wallet? What have you done with it? What are the possibilities that you see with the new versions of Ngram?
Yep. And yeah, we're actually getting into that next. I did want to add though, as far as the unstoppable domains thing goes, we talked about this before, but maybe some people don't understand. The name-based address system that's already built into DERO is essentially a domain system. Because at the end of the day, all a domain name system is you have an address and you have a human readable address and you link the two together. It's like a phone book.
Yeah, just mapping.
Yeah, so the best way I've ever heard it explained is like a phone book. You have the name and then you have the number. So you don't have to remember the number, you just need to find the name.
Right.
But yeah, but you brought up Ngram, so I'll get into it. Have you played with the beta release?
I did. I installed it right when I was on Christmas break, and I was like, oh, look at this, a gift. So I went and checked it out and played around with it, and it's cool. I mean, it's great. I have an older Samsung, and I just got a new Google Pixel phone that I just put Graphene OS on. So I haven't put it on that. I'm not sure about the compatibility, but I had my old Samsung phone, downloaded it, installed it, got it up and running. It was great.
Yeah. What about you, Waldo?
Oh yeah, I've absolutely been tinkering around with it. I was glad to see that you could bring your assets up and send and do things with it right there with the UI. Super simple. Yeah, it was super easy to update as well. I know they pushed out a bunch of quick updates in a pipeline fashion, and all you had to do was copy everything right over, delete the data shard folder, and it was like it never happened. Super professional looking on the phone too. When you open it up, it's right up there with all the best big name apps of its kind. So I love it.
Yeah, I played with it quite a bit too, and also just out of just kind of a coincidence, I guess. I decided to check out this project that was talking. It was talking some big talk, and I was like, okay, well let's see what their wallet looks like. And so I downloaded it, and I felt like I was transported back to 2017. It was, it took forever to sync. The blockchain was like, I think this project was only a few months old, and the blockchain took me like hours and hours to sync, and I wasn't even syncing a node. And it was just to get to the top of the chain. And I had just used Ngram on my Android, and I had just used Ngram on my Mac OS, and I had just used it on Windows because I kind of tried it on everything. And I was like, it took like 2 seconds to get my balance, and this chain is way older with way more blocks. So just using that as a comparison was pretty impressive to me. But yeah, Ngram looks great. It's slick. It runs great on mobile. I do have one qualm though, and you'd pretty much have to be in denial to not say that registering on mobile takes a long time. But that's not necessarily anything wrong with Ngram. That's just the nature of doing the POW for registering, right?
Yeah, I tossed it on a couple of older phones, and it seemed to take quite a while, maybe an hour tops. But on the newer model ones here, it wasn't too bad. I would suggest for older models to just register on a desktop or something with some better hardware, and then load the seeds up. It's a lot quicker that way.
Yeah, that's what I was doing too, is just loading the seeds up because, yeah, I had their same run-ins when I was loading this Ngram on other people's phones in Florida.
Yeah, I did the same thing. I just I used my new desktop. I think it actually took like 10 or 15 minutes to register. That I just took that seed and threw it on the mobile. There's a benefit to that though. You have a backup of your seed immediately. So
True.
There's another thing too about it. And this is definitely something that isn't really the same thing with other wallets. It's really portable. Like you could throw Ngram onto a thumb drive, open it up, use it, close it, take the thumb drive out, and the next time you pop that thumb drive in, it's going to work the same. And I think that's something that a lot of people don't appreciate because it's kind of hard to make especially if you're using older forks of like QuickTime wallets. If you want that to work on a thumb drive properly like that, it's super painful. I've tried it, but yeah, you could keep your Ngram on a USB, no problem. It's not a true cold wallet, but it's definitely more secure than just leaving it on like a desktop you have running 24/7, in my opinion.
Good to know.
All right, but anyways, the next ZeroPoint, we'll get deeper into Ngram. We'll have some of the developers on the call. So as far as getting deeper into it, as far as everything that's on it, because I didn't go into all the features. I went into basically what Waldo did, like asset management, checking that kind of stuff out. But there's a lot going on there. And from my understanding, there's also some more updates coming, not just the updates they recently released. So, so next call, we're definitely going to get deeper into Ngram.
Might call for a live demo then.
Oh, that might be a good idea. Especially if we have especially if we decide to go with some more, visual aids and video, that would be great. I'm going to take a note of that actually, because that's a great idea. Another thing I want to talk about was mining. Over the holidays, I had some time to do some experimenting, with mining, and I was actually using Astro Miner. It is closed source, but from what I've seen, the hash rate appears to be reporting correctly. And it is actually doing the hash rate that it says it does. I personally think the fees are crazy high if you really think about it. And I would appreciate if those developers like rethought the structure on that, like back in the day, like like things like XMR stack. It was the default was like 5%, but you could drop it down to 1. But I tried Astro NV, which is a GPU miner, and I was kind of comparing different hardware I had around the house. And at the end of the day, what I did notice was that like Ryzen 9s and some of the newer NVIDIA GPUs, if you do a hash to watt ratio, even with undervolting, it's still CPU still has the edge, just a little bit though. And then when you come to the cost of the equipment, GPU has a little bit of an edge maybe, but Astro BWT is doing what it's supposed to be doing, which is balancing these things, right? Has anybody been mining lately out of you two, or have you been playing with anything specifically?
I've added a couple more devices since I've gotten back from non-census, and I noticed that even on my lowest running device, I think it's 350 hashes, it found a mini block in a period of 1 to 5 days. So all of my devices have been really lucky this past week. So big heads up there. Try not to let your miners disconnect because they're really tagging, at least in my experience.
Yeah, I haven't been up to speed yet with mining, but I have 3 different devices I'm looking to get online.
Yeah, and I mean, you said 350 hashes a second? Not even a kilo hash?
Second along over there. Borderline.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, like my son does mining, and he has a Ryzen 5, and he basically finds a block a day with it, which is, Ryzen 5 is it's a mini block a day, obviously. But for the price of that CPU and what I built his computer for, I mean, I built it so he could play, Roblox and Minecraft and stuff. But yeah, he's finding it. But also what I found interesting is basically his Ryzen 5 pin, and also there's no official GPU miner that I could use to test against, so I used Astro NV. Basically between his Ryzen 5 and a 3050 RTX 3050 that I had, they get the same hash rate. And if you do like a cost comparison and a wattage comparison, they're basically kind of the same. I mean, like you're using a little bit less wattage with the Ryzen 5, but also if you want another Ryzen 5, you have to do a whole motherboard, memory, all that stuff all over again. So with the balance of it though, I just found it interesting that like a mid-range CPU and a mid-range GPU basically do the same. So Astro BWT, even though it's on GPU, like I still see people to this day, if you can mine with GPU, then CPU is useless, is the idea, right? Like, or like, oh, if it's not CPU only, then GPUs are just going to take it over. Well, I mean, to me, that's proof positive right there. That's not the case. And Astro BWT is doing exactly what it's supposed to do.
Yeah, it's bittersweet, man. It's you want somebody to get the leg up so that they can save humanity from all of these endurances with compressions and things like that. But it's good to know that it's doing what it's supposed to do and keeping everything at a balanced playing field.
Yeah, kind of as it's kind of like what the devs originally created that algorithm for was, well, if you're going to sit around optimizing hashes and hash rates on different types of algorithms, you might as well do it on one that has been historically hard to crack and nobody's been able to crack it for like decades. You know what I mean? Like, why are you spending your time doing a SHA 256 race when you could be spending your time trying to crack BWT? But yeah, so that was my holiday season. I had a lot of time to get some other things done, but that was one of the things that I kind of focused on, was just playing around with mining a little bit more than I have been lately, and comparing some different technology and stuff like that. So all good stuff in my opinion. Everything still looks like it's on the up and up and doing great, guys. I don't know. I might be a little weird for getting excited about confirming that everything's working how it should be, in my opinion, but I may be digressing a little bit there.
Well, I'm curious about because like the 18-second blocks, and it syncs very quickly. Is there any benefit to that, or is that just kind of on the front end for like for mining? Is you're mining the same amount, but it's happening at a slower rate? Or I'm just trying to like wrap my head around what mining with DERO is really like.
So just to clarify, are you talking about mining the 18-second blocks, how it affects mining and what the benefits are, or
how it affects it exactly.
I think Waldo could elaborate a little bit more on this, but essentially when you have so many blocks happening so quickly and then broken into the mini blocks as they are, it reduces the way that nodes work. It reduces the need for pools. So let's say you're just solo mining with a low kill hash rate and you're mining to a pool. Well, the pool is running its own node. So if it gets an integrator block, that doesn't get distributed to the rest of the pool. And then they have their own percentage fee on top of it. So they're basically making like 10% plus whatever if they were finding every block. If you run your own node and you're running a low kill hash rate, if you find an integrator block, you keep that. And then also, since there's so many blocks, you have a higher chance. And I think Waldo can elaborate on this. If your node has been, mining longer and running longer, when you're more likely to find a block with a low hash rate without even using a pool. So I have nothing against pools. I just personally don't see, when you look at ROI, the purpose of using one. So it's not like DERO completely kills pools or anything like that. But if you really have the know-how, which is the barrier to entry for it is getting lower all the time. If you have the know-how to run your own node and just have a small amount of hash rate on it, you're gonna find some blocks.
Yeah, it's really easy if you can keep your miner pointed at your node would be preferred, for an extended period of time. If you can't do that, I could see maybe where pooling would be beneficial because they can keep track of the broken hash, and the loss of proof of work, I suppose. But when you're constantly running that miner, the more integrator blocks that you land, you get a really high proof of work. And some people don't like the integrator blocks, so they opt out of even trying to find them. So it does good to keep it running and keep collecting on those. And yeah, like you said before, because there's so many blocks happening because of the 18-second block times, you just have more opportunity to arrive at that finish line with your miner.
Okay, cool. Very cool.
And to put into context too, like he said, he has a device that's running 350 hashes a second. I mean, like, there are cell phones that do that, right? Like, cell phones can do 350 hashes a second. I've actually seen, I'm pretty sure I've seen a cell phone that got close to a kilohash or did a kilohash, but I'd have...
Yeah, I've actually seen some pretty high cell phones, especially the newer
ones. Too many chats, guys.
Oh,
some stuff just gets lost in the ether. All right, well, let's see. We probably won't go the full time this time around, but I think we might start making these a little shorter too. 90 minutes is kind of a long time for people to listen to something if, short attention spans or just, it's hard to keep something going for so long if you don't have something relevant to speak about. So I got a few more things I wanted to talk about, and then I think we could just...
Okay.
All the things that we're actually going to be doing this year. I don't think people will be too mad. Plus, it saves up a little bit of time out of their day. So, so basically, here's what we got going on. The next ZeroPoint module is going to be with Dank and Joshi, the other two Foundation founders, and a few others. We're going to be talking about some Foundation stuff that's going on. Can't really get too much into what we're going to be discussing just yet, but at least at this point, in about 2 weeks, there will be some more announcements that are going to be made, and more information coming out, and also with a more consistent schedule with these ZeroPoints, it'll be a more consistent release of information, so people can get a true sense of what's going on. So we also do have some specific Foundation announcements that we're going to be making. That may be before the next ZeroPoint, but it may be during. It just kind of depends on when we finalize some of these things. So keep an eye out for that. The Foundation itself, we're actually planning on expanding. And that's part of what we're going to be discussing in the future. We're going to be ramping up some things too. Ramping up those efforts. That's like something we'll really get into with more announcements and stuff like that. Again, as the new year rolls on and people get out of their vacation brain and out of vacation mode, we have plenty of stuff coming on that. Let's see. Oh, we're also going to be doing a monthly game night. So this is going to be like a community thing. We don't have the first game settled on yet, but there's a few different fun things that we've been talking about doing. like maybe some bounties on Foundation members or some tournament type games. But basically, like every month we could get together as a community and basically have some fun. You take out a Foundation member, win some DERO or something. But all the details on that are still being finalized too. But first game night should be at the end of this month. Keep a lookout for that. It should be pretty fun. I know a couple of people are going to be streaming during the game night. So still a little wishy-washy on how we're going to do full coverage of it. But for the first one, we're just gonna get going, and a few people will be streaming that other people could watch too if they don't want to play.
That sounds fun. Yeah, I'm getting my setup here in my home office too. So I'd love to be able to have a music night and just play music for an hour. I got a DJ controller and a bunch of music, and I think it would be fun for us to get together and just kind of freestyle, like, songs we want to play, and I mix it in and we just sit and chat and talk about it.
That'll be fun too.
Yeah.
No, yeah, totally. Actually, yeah, hit me up about that later. We could talk about like making a regular schedule out of that, because I'm a huge music fan. I'm pretty sure everybody's aware I'm a huge music fan. I'm sure Waldo is too, right?
So harp on that. A lot of people in DERO are hip to the music. They would enjoy that, I think.
Yeah, that'd be a little fun for the whole community. Yeah.
Right on. Yeah, no, totally a great idea. We'll do that too. There's a few more things that are going on in regards to just like utility of DERO itself. This month we're going to be opening just like a store for vague nonsense. Basically, just selling t-shirts and things like that. But the thing that's cool about this is the store checkout is a WordPress plugin like the other store checkouts that are out there. But this one doesn't require any sort of like browser plugin or any RPC. So as long as you have like Ngram on your phone or Ngram on your desktop, when you go to checkout, you get an integrated address. You either scan the QR. Obviously QR is not quite there in Ngram yet, but you scan the QR, put in the integrated address inside of it, and you just hit the button and checkout completes. You get your information via wallet and via the store, and it's just something we can do to show that there is functionality here that's pretty cool, and you don't need to like install extra software or anything like that. So look out for that.
Yeah, I have a WordPress website, and I'd love to be able to integrate DERO payments or whatever on my website. So
yeah, the only thing you really need to do is just basically run a wallet. So I'll talk to so like I said, we're gonna have the Foundation guys on the next call. And this is another reason for Discord. Like, for example, Six of Clubs help with this WordPress plugin. He doesn't use Twitter, and I don't blame him. So some people just won't use Twitter. So that was another reason to use a different platform. So we could talk to him a little bit more about that plugin and how it all works on another call. But yeah, it's really cool so far. I like it.
Nice.
But other than that, I don't really have much else to talk about. As far as the points that I had for today, like I said, it's probably going to be shorter than it normally is, but I don't necessarily think that's a bad thing.
Yeah, so let's leave everybody with, a call to action. So whether you're a developer or not, what do you want to be developed on DERO? What do you see that's never been developed before that is a possibility? What do you see in other ecosystems that is something that we could be developed in DERO? What are your hopes and dreams on what applications and things that we could develop on DERO? Or if you are a developer, how do you get engaged? Who do you talk to? Who are the people that you want to speak with to get started? Just want to engage everybody in the community to think about that and talk about what we could do to make development on DERO better, but also what things that we could develop as a group.
All right, and for that feedback, what's the best way to get at you personally for that kind of stuff?
So I am Quest4Designs everywhere online. You could go Quest4Designs at proton.me. I have a Proton email address. But I could be your point person. I'm your Huckleberry. You could reach out to me, and I can get you and point you in the right direction.
Right on.
And
you got anything else?
Yeah, I want to add to that call. If we're getting if we're getting mini blocks, 350 hashes, what are you guys waiting on? Come point your devices at this network and get in on this gold.
Yeah, no kidding.
Yeah, and if you don't run your own personal node and you want some help with getting it done, Come into the DERO Discord, ask around. There's plenty of people that would love to help you. And also there's always the official node that the developers run. That integrator block goes to them as a donation. I'm sure one thing we need to do is get a better list of public nodes for people to mine to as well. But run your own node if you can. You get that extra integrator block. You strengthen the network. It's better for everybody.
Win-win.
All right, guys. Well, I guess we'll just kind of wrap it up for today. Like I said, short and sweet. I think we covered a lot of good stuff, though. Quest, we'll be talking to you soon. Looking forward to some announcements. And all right, everyone, have a good day. Just remember, not your keys, not your coins, not your business. You guys have a good one.
Thanks for having me.
Bye.